Good morning, wrestling! Woo! Get up, get going. Where's my cowbell?
Woo! Woo!
This is my new thing. I'm sure my girlfriend Liz loves that I have a cowbell on my desk now. Hey, good morning, Liz. All right,
She's
hey,
still
yeah,
asleep.
we got a big show planned, everybody. It is post Money in the Bank Monday. Sorry, we are running a little bit late here. I had some work that overflowed, but you know what? I'm just going to blame Peacock. I'm going to blame Peacock. That seems to be the thing to do this morning, right?
Well, our stream goes through the Peacock servers, and our stream was fine. We started at 12, but Peacock, they had a blackout. You know how it is.
Yeah, well, you know, we'll get into the Peacock issues here. We got a lot to get to here. Pratik saying, hello, good morning, guys. Yes, good morning to you all out there. Me and Michael, we are here live for the next 45 minutes or so, talking all things Money in the Bank, John Cena, everything in between. If you want to be a part of the show, jump into the comment section. It is open right now, no matter where you're watching us, over on YouTube, over on all of the Wrestling Inc. social media platforms. Join me in the comments. You can say fun things like, Peacock sucks. Thanks, Alonzo.
Productive conversations happening on the Wrestling Inc. Daily. We're doing it.
We will work as many of your comments that are appropriate into the show as possible. So go leave us a comment. We'll bring you a part of it. Just this morning, I had the privilege starting my day talking to our very good friend, 20-plus year WWE veteran referee, Jimmy Corderas. This is fresh. It is brand new. I have already uploaded over on YouTube. So right after the show is over in about 53 minutes, you can go watch me and Jimmy Corderas talk all things Money in the Bank, John Cena, little Davey Boy Smith Jr., since he's a Canadian. We'll get into that here as well. But me and Jimmy, a 20-minute take, his take on Money in the Bank. We talk a couple referee decisions that were made on the show as well. So check that out in video form. And if you're in audio form, you're going to get that after we talk the news of the day. And at the end, for everybody, we'll go into the mailbag. We're going to dive into a poll that looks at what you thought was moment of the night last night at Money in the Bank. But before we get to Money in the Bank, news you can use, news leave a bruise. We're going to start with SmackDown, since some things happened on SmackDown that rolled into Money in the Bank. Obviously, we're covering the last 72 hours. So this gives you a chance here to also share the link out. If you want to let more people come tune in, we will be talking Money in the Bank here in just a couple minutes. But SmackDown first. SmackDown opened with the return of Vince McMahon to live fans. He came out. He said, "Where have you all been?" Oh, and then he walked to the back. What did you think of seeing Vinnie Mac on Friday?
Weird. It's just anytime he shows up nowadays, the pop was great, right? Of course, he saves the first pop back live with the crowd for himself. That music hits, no chance, whatever. It's his company. What am I going to say? No, Vince. But there's the weird thing. Like, was it a joke? It was kind of awkward. It set a weird tone for the start of that show, I felt like.
I thought it was great. Everybody loves Vince. Vince always gets the Vince pop. You know, it's a special occasion. I feel like these are marked now by Vince. Like, you know, something has happened in pro wrestling history in the last 20 years if Vince appeared. You know, this was a moment. No, I'm being critical. It's just weird to me. It's fine. It's Vince. He gets to do what he wants to. It just was like a weird thing to say. Where have you been? And then that's it. I expected he would at least say, "Welcome back. Thank you all for sticking with us. Watch Monday Night Raw. We need the ratings boost." But I just love. I want the one kid that's in there. It's like, I've lost members of my family. I do not know what's been going on. Like, anyway. Vince McMahon came back, waved his hat, off we went. Finn Balor came back on SmackDown. He's now attacking Sami Zayn. It looks like those two are embroiled. The first of what looks to be many big returns or rejoining of the main rosters, I guess, in this situation. How'd you feel about Finn and Sami there?
I thought it was cool. I mean, you know, Finn got a big pop and been down in NXT for a while, so it's good to see him back in the main roster. I think for me as a fan, Friday Night SmackDown, we got a few more things to talk about there. It was a little bit like, it was a normal WWE show for the last few months, and I thought this was the moment of the night, was seeing Finn come back out there, and it's good to see him back out there. What are you going to do with him, though? I like the tease with Sami Zayn, but does he move back into a title shot at a B-level pay-per-view? Obviously, he'll get squashed by Roman, but I don't know. It's interesting. I hope they do more with him during this run on the main roster.
Yeah, it did. You know, look, Vince did get him last time, but, you know, he's in a good spot here with Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is Teflon. Kevin Owens did a wonderful thing letting, or maybe not letting, but Zayn beat Owens the last time they were on pay-per-view together. So Zayn is hot right now. He's a credible competitor. Really nice opponent for Finn Balor. And if we're going to get Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens kind of all in this little pool together, I mean, the rich get richer when it comes to work rate over on SmackDown.
Those would be some damn good matches. And I was happy to see the crowd pop for him. Like, they legitimately were excited to see him out there, which, NXT doesn't always translate to main roster. So I thought that was good.
Yeah. Baron Corbin is now destitute. He's lost his crown. I guess there was formal kingsmanship. He had access to royal money, whatever it may be. But Baron Corbin, destitute, broke. He has launched Corbin Fund. It's a website you can go to. I went to this website as soon as it was launched. I didn't see a way to click on anything to give money. I don't really know. I like what's going on here. And I saw that JBL tweeted out that he'd be interested in maybe lending Corbin some cash. So maybe we could get $1 million man type situation going on. But I kind of dig the fall from grace, even if it is a little dumb right now.
Vince McMahon finally found out about GoFundMe. He's and who better to go fund than the biggest superstars in the world who brag about their Lamborghinis on social media. Sure. Baron Corbin, listen, lots of people have opinions on Baron Corbin, but if you hear people inside the company talk about him, they talk about how great he is to work with, how he's great about partnering with the writing staff. I'm glad that they're giving him something different to do. I think the King gimmick was fine for a while, but he's doing a good job with it too. He hit the gray hair. He doesn't look quite right.
Right.
He is owning this moment in a really big way, and who knows where it's going to go. It seems like maybe a short-lived gimmick, but I'm down with it for right now. Just give us a way to give him money for real, though. For real.
But this is not the same, but shades of when Edge went insane over on SmackDown. Sure. Similar, growing the beard out. He was Vicky Guerrero. Not exactly the same, but this stuff plays, right? Desperate men do desperate things. We'll see how desperate he gets. There was a fan who captured Roman Reigns flipping off a bunch of people off camera. I love it, man. I was wondering how they were going to keep heat on Roman Reigns because he's so likable. I've been saying for a while, you can always just murder Dominic again. And I guess they've been listening because that's exactly what they did to keep heat on Roman Reigns on Friday Night SmackDown. They just had to brutalize this child.
Sure. It works. I mean, it's classic. It works. I do like, though, the shades of I'm not afraid to kind of push the envelope, a good heel, finding a spot, flip off the crowd. Roman Reigns is such a great heel. I know lots of people have opinions and they're like, how's it going to be received by the live crowd and all that stuff. I think last night showed that the crowd will respond to some good heel work from both Roman and Bobby Lashley there. So, but again, little things like that add to the aura of a guy like Roman. The flipping off behind the camera, all that stuff helps build up this mystique.
Yeah. Lastly, here from SmackDown, before we dive into Money in the Bank and the real big news, and again, share out the link if you want other people to tune in as we get our Money in the Bank discussion started here in just a moment. But Shane Thorne, the former Slapjack in Retribution, he worked a post-show battle royal they did. He was in Slapjack. He had new gear. Big E won that battle royal, got to say some nice things to everybody to welcome them all back. But the bottom line, I guess, is for all of you Shane Thorne Slapjack fans out there, and I know there's at least one, 6 rings. Rest in peace, Slapjack. I guess Shane Thorne forever.
What do you mean he's not? Slapjack is part of Retribution. They're going to take over the company.
They're done. No, they failed. No, I think
they have tech and stuff, and they're going to Mustafa Ali's involved.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Dijakovic back in NXT this Tuesday. I
hope so.
Dude, they abandoned. Why would they abandon Mia Yim's? They've now abandoned Shane Thorne. I don't think we saw those two on last Monday night's Raw. I don't know where you go with Mace. Brandon Williams, who's a former NFL player. There's a lot you could do with that, but Dijakovic is Dijakovic. Oh. And I don't know why, if you don't know what to do with him, you don't just put him back in NXT. He'd be great down there.
And he was great before they pulled him up for this gimmick, right? I also don't understand the idea that we're going to bring up some of these stars who fans are responding to and just put masks on them. I think that's a very weird call out for the main roster. But you know what? Here's the deal. They had 2 big initiatives last summer, Raw Underground, this whole storyline with Retribution. Neither of them panned out, right? And we're going to reset now because it's a new season, basically. This is the seasonal reset for WWE, getting back in front of crowds. So let's just reset everything. Let's do it.
Yeah, well, talk about a reset here. So this brings us into Money in the Bank. So I'll start by saying the Usos beat the Mysterios for the SmackDown tag titles. And I think all the stuff about the DUI, we just have to table it, right? They've made their choice. You could be upset, not upset about it, but they're moving on. They've put the titles on these guys. The Usos, the Reigns, the Anawahi family more important than anything else at the moment, getting this storyline over.
So unfortunate. I mean, we don't have to table it. We should, I guess, because otherwise we'll spend our entire time talking about that exact topic. But it is, to me, it just sets a really bad tone and precedent that we're going to move forward with even a title change within the short time of this happening. When in reality, what really needs to happen is this individual needs help, not just to kind of, and listen, there were some moments last night in the show, I think the backstage afterwards between Roman and the Usos, where he kind of said, hey, Jimmy, you're here because of me, and we kind of know what you've been through to get here. Some of the fans were like, I can't believe they're referencing the DUI. I don't think they were referencing the DUI. I think they were referencing the storyline of Jimmy having to kind of be won over by the family. But it is very tone deaf and kind of egocentric to not recognize that that's going to play very differently in light of the recent DUI. So I think it was just a bad judgment call on WWE's part.
Yeah, and we got Daniel Price here saying, table it. No, that was absolutely the wrong call. You reward someone who got caught yet again for a DUI with a title run? No. And I see that quite a bit as well. It's just, what do you do here? Like they've made their call. They're not held to any kind of standards to make any kind of movement here. I, like you, worry that this man, because he's not getting help and is getting pushed and they're continuing to kind of reference it, may set up a relapse. Maybe not. But is that a gamble you want to take? I would say no. I see both sides on this one, but I definitely lean with what you're saying, Michael. 100%.
And I would say too, like, let's not put too much rewarding him with the title. Let's not put too much focus on what that title means, right? It's a tag team championship, and championships matter in WWE, but there's not the same level of prestige that maybe there was like 15, 20 years ago, where you won that after years and years and years of hard work. This is their 7th title reign. Everyone means something. I know that, but it was a pre-show match, tag team championship in WWE. It's not like they are like, oh, this is a Hall of Fame induction, right? It's just another storyline moment for them is all this is. It's more about the fact that we're keeping him involved in this storyline, in this intense, busy storyline on the road so closely after this thing happened.
All right. Well, the Usos have these titles. They have their backstage bit with Roman that we talked about, and we'll get to the main event here. So, yeah, Roman Reigns, this is all about Roman. He defeated Edge to retain the title. There were multiple people involved after a ref bump. Rollins, the Usos, Mysterios. Edge wound up chasing Rollins off after the match because he was so upset that Rollins had helped cost him his bout, setting up this moment where John Cena's music hits. Fightful, others reporting John Cena wasn't expected to be back with WWE till next Friday on SmackDown. Well, I guess we were all mistaken here. John Cena shows up at the end of the show. Huge pop. He confirmed after the show that he's going to be on Raw tonight, and Fightful saying there's going to be a lot of these returns coming up in the coming weeks. It's all hands on deck. Several plans, everybody who you've heard about and some that you haven't heard about. A lot of them are kept secrets. Others on the roster, whatever. They're getting souped up for the coming week. So anyway, John Cena's back. Confrontation with Roman Reigns. And he gets a huge babyface pop. Huge.
First time in WWE history that I can remember that both John Cena and Roman Reigns are getting the fan reaction that WWE intends them to get.
Yes, finally. You just had to turn one of them. Wow, that's crazy. Wow.
And let the other one go out and be a major movie star and Fast and the Furious and Suicide Squad and whatever else. Listen, a lot to dive into with this, I think, specific moment. Last night's show was all about what's WWE going to look like. I mean, Friday night was to a certain extent, although that felt very much paint by numbers after the Thunderdome, right? But last night's show was all about what's WWE going to look like coming back in with crowds? Are they going to tweak their product? What should we expect from them? I think the first half of that show, more to get to about that, was a little bit fine. I think people were expecting surprises. Like we got Finn on Friday night. What are we getting on Sunday night? And we weren't getting the expected surprises throughout the night. So just a pitch perfect play here by being able to get John Cena in there, because people were like, oh, he's going to show up on SmackDown. He's been rumored, right, for these other shows. Not for this one. WWE played it so well. And I think the match itself played out really well leading up to that. Listen, everybody was convinced, myself included, Edge had no chance at this. They're going to save Roman for John Cena or a bigger fish. But there are moments in there that they really made me believe, again, Edge is this close. That one spear he got, he's going to get the win here. So major shout out to WWE for pacing this match right. Even the run-ins played really well, I think, with the dive. We're going to bring in this storyline and in how it impacts this. That's what you need more of in this company, is these kind of not cross branded, but cross teams, cross interpersonal matches, things like that. So I dug it all, but that pop was incredible.
It felt very much like an old school Raw kind of booking, right? You know,
Sure.
the wrap up, and then DX runs out, Nation of Domination runs out to even the playing field, and out of nowhere, the Lone Wolf Stone Cold Steve Austin comes in to kind of get his in on it, right? Setting up the finish for these two guys. The thing I think I liked most about the finish was just how much business was done. Sure. You know, like you get Cena Reigns set up, you get Rollins Edge set up. You're definitely going to get more Mysterio's Usos, which match-wise will be very, very good. But there was a lot. I mean, as far as like trying to define what the SmackDown brand is going to look like going into SummerSlam, you set up like 3 top bouts there in a matter of 45 minutes.
Well, you did it in very, like, I think you're right about the business piece, but also what I want to give them a shout out for is you did it with very personal stories. So they've been fine in the past about, even in recent years, let's get lots of people out there and bring them all out for this match and 6-man tags and all that stuff. But as a fan, what I want to see is a personal connection to these stories and the trials and tribulations these characters are going through. So when Dominic and Ray showed up, it felt like a continuation of this, man, they got away with one earlier, we're getting them back now, right? When Seth Rollins showed up, he had a personal stake against both Edge and Roman, but especially Edge, based off of previous weeks. They're paying off weeks worth of building up stories, and that shit matters to a pro wrestling fan. So setting up the business, super duper important. Setting up the personal stakes behind the business, equally important in pro wrestling.
I'm going to go to a comment here. This is from earlier from Dellin13, a little long. Why is Cena back in WWE? He's way past his prime. He's no longer a wrestler. He's an actor just like The Rock. We've already seen Cena Reigns many times before, but they're done that. I'm tired of seeing Cena. Randy Orton really needs to be the guy to break Ric Flair's championship record.
Did you watch the show? I don't like to pick on fans because I appreciate you listening and watching and all that stuff. But why John Cena was very clearly answered with the amazing pop and the incredible social media reaction that John Cena got. Also, he's a freaking dude. Fast and the Furious, the biggest movie in America, right? Suicide Squad getting all this positive press, future HBO Max TV show. Of course they're going to go with him, and he can go in the ring, and he looks great. And he's made them millions and millions and millions of dollars over the year. What's the problem?
Yeah, I have no issues with John Cena in the situation. And I think have we seen these two quite a bit before in the past? I'm seeing other people having, and I read that because I see a lot of these kind of screeds on social media right now for one reason or another that just want to hate on John Cena. But the proof is in the pudding. You know, the fans reacted, like you said, exactly how you wanted them to react. You have a defined babyface, it would seem, a defined heel. Big stars colliding on a big stage. This is when wrestling is at its best, with very simple storytelling like this, with big players that know how to tell these kinds of stories. So I have no problem with it.
And no disservice to any other organization or promotion or whatever else. Lots of fantastic freaking things happening in the world of pro wrestling right now. I don't even know if we're going to get to it all today's show, right? But a moment like that last night, on the biggest stage with the biggest company, only one company can deliver something that big, that surprising, and that's WWE. There are lots of criticisms to have against them, and it just feels a little bit different when it's elevated with that pop culture. So, we've seen it before, guys. I hear you. If you remember back then, this feud brought out the best in John Cena. He was giving some hellfire on the microphone back then against Roman Reigns. I think the difference is now we have a Roman Reigns that's going to be able to match John Cena in terms of character.
Yeah, and I hope he murders John Cena, right? Like, I really do. And Praddock here saying number 2 trending, John Cena return on YouTube. Again, it's all the attention. The momentum is there. The fact they were smart enough to mention that John's going to be on Raw tonight. What could happen, especially after Bobby Lashley just humbled and dominated Kofi Kingston last night to retain that title. 3 dominators, that hurt lock where you see poor Kofi's arm just... I think this is a tap. I don't know what. I just make it stop kind of thing. Afterwards, Lashley tweeted out, "Untouchable, who's next?" teasing Goldberg. So are we going to see Cena, Goldberg, Lashley all tonight? I mean, just it's a choose your own adventure they're setting up here. A lot of very compelling paths you can go down.
I don't want to overlook Kofi and all of that because Kofi is such a great talent. And I think he's a little bit underutilized in that company with what he could be. He is the heir, in my opinion, to the kind of CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, that like organic fan presence, somebody they want to respond to. Kofi Kingston's that guy. He was that guy last night. The fans freaking loved him, right? But they did it in service of keeping Bobby up with that monster heat, and you saw that come out of last night. So Bobby Goldberg doesn't interest me, but I also understand why, from a business perspective, somebody else. I think we're getting the poor man's Lashley Lesnar. No offense to Goldberg, but it's something. And yeah, Goldberg comes back. Maybe not my cup of tea. Maybe somebody responds to it. He must sell merch or something.
I wonder if Goldberg beats Lashley. And I know that's a crazy thing to say, but like, I feel like when they want to break the glass and get a bunch of attention, they put the title on Goldberg. It's just part of their business model now. And with Lashley looking just as one-sidedly dominant as he did last night at Money in the Bank, were they giving him that moment finally where it's like you got that big imposing chance to make a statement just to build him up for Goldberg, or do they let it ride? Is this the poor man's Lashley Lesnar because they know Lashley Lesnar could be the thing after Goldberg?
Could be the WrestleMania thing, right? Like maybe that's what you're building towards, is hoping that we get there WrestleMania, and then WrestleMania is Roman Reigns, The Rock, it's Lashley Lesnar. I mean, I don't know if Lashley Lesnar has the same kind of appeal to it, because who do you pull for in that match? And I think the fans would probably still get behind Lashley in favor of it. But who knows, right? I think Lashley cannot lose to Goldberg. We've had too many guys. Let's go back to The Fiend and how hot he was until he got beat by Goldberg, right? Too many guys get steamrolled by Goldberg, and that's where it stops. So we'll see. I almost wonder, could you pivot Big E away, and that could be the guy? Because Big E's got to conquer some. He is a babyface. He is hot. He has the Money in the Bank. To cement him as that, the company desperately needs major babyface stars. He is it. But does he conquer Lashley to do it?
Well, and that's the thing. Big E did win Money in the Bank. Man, that both matches, Money in the Bank matches, were really good. And I don't want to talk too much about the finishes because Jimmy and I kind of get into it in the interview, but thought the women's finish. I thought the stuff with Nikki Ash. We'll talk a little bit about the Money in the Bank stuff. Nikki Ash won the Money in the Bank for the women. Big E won the Money in the Bank for the men. Both matches I thought were really, really good, but the Big E finish just felt bigger than the Nikki Ash win. I thought the Nikki Ash thing just felt really, really flat. I felt bad for how flat it kind of came off. I think a lot of people were kind of just scratching their heads. It was, of everything that happened on the show, I think arguably like the weak point for me, which is really unfortunate because it started the show and should have been a big moment for somebody in that bout. And maybe it still can be for Nikki. I just don't see it.
Nikki, I think it's because of the way she's been treated on television for weeks and months, is that it didn't feel like the culmination of anything for her. It felt to me like the Otis. No offense to Nikki, she's a great talent, but it felt like the Otis moment from last year. To me, Big E felt more like, we've had some really cool moments, and then let's include representation in this conversation. It felt a lot more like the Bianca Belair stuff at WrestleMania, that we're having somebody new finally break through that upper echelon and being crowned as the next heir to the company's throne. And I think Big E is the right call for that. And also, again, representation matters, and it feels special because it's not what WWE's always done in the past.
Well, with Big E here, back to Big E, and we can talk a little bit more about Nikki in just a moment. But Chaz Button here saying, when do we think Big E cashes in? At SummerSlam, after once Lashley destroys Goldberg, or later in the year? Feel like the crowd would prefer E versus Lashley at SummerSlam than Bill. Makes storyline sense. And if I had to, yeah, man, I'd rather Big E comes out on Monday Night Raw, tells John Cena to take a seat. I got this. You beat up my friend Kofi Kingston last night. I'm really, really, really upset with the way you handled Xavier Woods as well. I've had to sit over on the blue bench watching this go down, but now I've got this thing, and I could come here and I want to kick your ass at SummerSlam like a big babyface call-out should be.
I love that. The idea that I'm going to call you out ahead of time and not surprise cash in, build that match up. I thought they could have done something if Kofi had won last night with Big E and Kofi and the New Day infighting, but I like your direction better because he's defending the people that the fans already love. And it makes him more of a baby. He's going to go fight for his friends, his brother, and it gives him an excuse to be over there. Man, I think that's great.
But the thing here is, like, do you hot shot it and do it right now leading to SummerSlam, or keep these guys apart? I mean, but again, it feels like right now, right after that Kofi beating, it would make a lot of sense. But do you keep these guys apart? Do you have Lashley go over Goldberg? Do you have Lashley go over Lesnar? Right? And then who's the guy after Lashley's been so dominant to take it from him at a WrestleMania? Can you wait that long, or a Royal Rumble, for Big E to finally come in and have that moment? I don't know, but I am very surprised I will say this in a pleasant way, that right now we are coming back to fans. Bobby Lashley still has his title, and there are this many compelling routes that he could go. You know,
I also think you look at the way WWE typically does business, to your point from earlier about Goldberg, right? They kind of have these things they lean into. I almost don't wonder, does Bobby Lashley maybe lose the title? I mean, he's a monster, right? He's hard to beat one-on-one. Maybe that's Big E's excuse to get in there and beat him up and steal the title. Big E goes on to face Goldberg at SummerSlam. Big E beating Goldberg says a lot about their hopes for Big E and what they want to do with him. You can always come back to Lashley later. You can always do Lashley Lesnar without a title. That's a fight. That's a big title match without a championship, right? So who knows? But to your point, lots of options. Where does Drew fit into all this? I think we see where he's going to end up with Jinder Mahal, which could be good, but lots of compelling options moving forward.
Well, Joseph Vendetti here, by the way, saying maybe Goldberg wins the title, that Big E cashes in on Goldberg and wins. It's just not. It just doesn't play to me.
Yeah.
Right. It's not very in line with Big E. There's no heat there with him and Goldberg. I would hate to see Lashley's reign end with a Goldberg victory, only to have Big E beat up a weekend Goldberg. Just a lot of stuff in there. I don't really. Yeah, that's good for me. Yeah.
Yep, I agree. We'll
all right. Well, back to the women over here. Yeah, Nikki Ash, she won the women's Money in the Bank. Becky Lynch did confirm, I think during or just before the show, she was actually in Fort Worth for Money in the Bank, which led to the Charlotte Rhea Ripley match, where maybe because fans knew Becky was there, they were chanting for Becky at several points during the match. Flair responded to one of the "We Want Becky" chants by giving a middle finger to the Texas crowd. WWE production tried to black out the screen to block Flair's middle finger to the crowd, but it was still visible on the live Peacock WWE Network feed. The attempted edit led to many fans knocking the company on Twitter. How far we have fallen from the throes of the Monday Night War, where you can't even put the middle finger up anymore, Michael.
I'm not going to knock them too much. They're trying to maintain their certain status with their investors. And I guarantee you, if in any major sports organization, watching the NBA finals right now, right? If Chris Paul were to come out there and flip off the fans, not that he would ever do that, local Winston-Salem guy, I love him to death. Right. He would not, the NBA would cut away from that. They're not going to let that image get out there with one of their major stars flipping off the people that are paying the money. So I don't blame them for that. Also, all the other Peacock issues made that appear like just another blackout for the Peacock streaming channel. Yeah. But I also think it respects that fans maybe aren't as into Charlotte as WWE is.
Well, we have a comment here from Derek L. Harris that says, it's sad to see certain stars continue to swap out the titles like Charlotte or some fan favorite. And I didn't hate the match. I think Charlotte's in a very good space right now, character-wise. I don't know that Rhea's the right dancing partner for her. So I was happy with the finish. I was happy Charlotte took the title. But again, maybe it's just because we've seen a lot of these two. Maybe because we all kind of felt it was an inevitability. It did feel a little flat to me again. And I felt bad for the women on this show because they really got the short end of the stick when it came to, I think, creative and the respect of the fans last night as well in a lot of cases.
I think it's your point earlier about Goldberg, and this company has certain things they do where I almost want to say they retreat to certain norms whenever they feel stuck or feel in a rut or don't know what else to do. And I think much like they have their call-ins with Lesnar and Goldberg and a few others, and for a while, John Cena and Roman Reigns, when they get kind of like, where else do we go with this? Putting the title back on Charlotte is what they do in this women's division over and over again when they kind of feel like we just need somebody to hold it for a while until we can figure out what our next step is. This women's division as a whole has had a step back in the last year, and it's not anybody, there have been some really cool moments like WrestleMania, but there have been injuries. There have been some inconsistent storytellings. There's been A, B, and C. And so this felt again like we're not sure what to do. Nobody's really where we want them to be as far as star power right now. So let's just slap it back on Charlotte. And I think the fans don't like these WWE placeholder champions. Again, you're right. She's evolved as a character. I think she does really good work. So I don't want to downplay what she has accomplished here. But for the fans, we've seen it. What's new for us? This is a new era coming out of COVID.
Yeah. Well, you brought up the streaming issues. Let's tackle the streaming issues. So this was one of the hottest topics on social media regarding Money in the Bank. The heavy buffering issues began after the Raw women's title match between Rhea and Charlotte and were resolved a few minutes into the men's Money in the Bank match. That's a chunk of change, which was won by Big E. Many fans apparently missed all the backstage segments with Riddle, Rick Booge, and Nakamura. Hey, guess what? You didn't miss much. And the entrances to the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, PW Insider saying, WWE did not pause the pay-per-view while the issues were going on because initially the company was not aware. The streaming issues were only with the Peacock feed in the U.S., did not emanate from the Dickies Arena in Fort Worth. The issues were coming from wherever Peacock was picking up the stream, sending it out to subscribers. The streaming issues reportedly had nothing to do with WWE. The international feed of the network had zero issues, so WWE kept the broadcast going because they also had an international audience viewing the show. It was also interesting to note that Peacock fixed their stream. The feed was one belonging to the network, not Peacock, as the stream no longer featured any of Peacock's graphics. Wild. WWE made a tweet at 10:07 p.m. Eastern to let fans know that Peacock had resolved the issues. Fans were advised, restart the Peacock app. Not that you prefer to do more than when you're watching a live show to be told to restart the thing. Go hit it with a hammer. The issues also led to multiple fans complaining about how they were unable to fast forward or rewind. The platform told fans on Twitter the player controls are going to roll out soon, though that didn't help in the moment, including on Roku and Android. Peacock responded to more complaints after the pay-per-view made it known that the replay is available for viewing. Peacock also issued various responses, some generic, to dozens of fans. Now, I feel bad because I took Liz out last night for a date, and I watched this morning, and I got up early to do so. I watched the whole thing before I looked at what news I had to get into, and then I found out about these issues. So I did not have these issues because I watched it this morning. But holy hell, this sounds like a nightmare, Michael.
It was. And the thing about it was there were some like small issues throughout the broadcast. And this is not their first rodeo. They've been doing these shows on Peacock since WrestleMania. So there were some weird blips in the flies in the ointment, right? There were some stutters here and there. So when they first started, the stutter, or was it the Applebee's ad that it really kind of took off, I think? It was just like, okay, this will sort itself out in a minute or two. And then it didn't. And I saw fans on social. I'm not watching the rest of the show. I'll wait till later. But the double compounded issue here, to your point, is there's no fast forward rewind. I can't just take 5 minutes, go do something else, come back, pick up where I left off. I'm going to miss something, and maybe something important, while I'm doing that. So I think Peacock kind of, for a heavily hyped show at a major moment, we're going to see Drew McIntyre's first appearance in front of fans since this whole thing began. Kind of shat the bed, unfortunately. And so, they'll get their stuff worked out. The bigger thing for me, the WWE has struggled in this transition from network to Peacock. I want to go back and rewatch. It was the 10-year anniversary of Money in the Bank, John Cena, CM Punk, Chicago 2011, right? Once you go watch that, finding that stuff on the Peacock app is hard to do. It's like organized by seasons and episodes. And I just think they moved fast to get Peacock up and running. They knew they were behind the streaming wars. WWE made this business deal. Unfortunately, the fans are suffering, and that's what sucks about it.
Braddock says, I hate Peacock streaming service. Alonzo Smith, Peacock sucks. Daniel Price, I was watching an unofficial feed, and it kept looping. I don't know what that means. Don't do that, right? Just get Peacock. Or no. Actually, I guess I don't really have a good case for you to get Peacock. I guess maybe go ahead and keep pirating it. Maybe you have a better shot. Just like, this is not what you want. This is bad. And especially since the network was so good, I don't want to be so blunt and crass and just say I hate Peacock, but I'm really, really disappointed. I'm disappointed in you, Peacock. You all had a beautiful thing, and you took this beautiful thing and you abuse it. You abuse this beautiful thing, and we all know it, and I'm disappointed in you, Peacock. Go to your room. Go to your room. I know.
It's even doubly worse, Nick, because we're a week and a half from NBC's major live coverage of the Olympics, which, of course, you can watch on cable and satellite and all that jazz, but they are directing fans of the Olympics to watch sports on the apps if you want to watch some of these things live. And so you're telling me a WWE event is going to crap out. How are you going to handle international streaming from Tokyo for the, biggest sporting event of the year?
I honestly feel like they are not. Maybe just because but like there's this attitude towards pro wrestling. Maybe even if you made $1 billion investment, where I don't know if WWE just gets the same attention as like an Olympics. I don't know. I don't really know what the behind the scenes looks like. So anyway, and Dina Garofalo here, much like Jimmy Corderas, who we'll hear in a little bit, saying, I love my Canadian WWE network. Yeah. Can we have it back too, please? And your socialized medicine? That'd be wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Davey Boy Smith Jr. has returned to WWE in a dark match before SmackDown. He confirmed on social media he's back with the company. PW Insider saying Smith and WWE agreed to a new contract going back as early as this past March, but things were kept quiet until now, until it was the right time to bring him out. No other contract details were provided. Harry is an interesting guy, but bottom line, as a performer, he's really compelling, and I don't really know what they're going to do with him on SmackDown or Raw, but I see him as like a centerpiece for the NXT UK division. I think he's the bridge that can really finally maybe bring over some casuals to put some eyes on that product. And I don't know what's going on with Walter with this severe injury or whatever, but Bulldog Walter for the NXT UK Championship is a main event all day long, no matter where you do it. And I don't know what the long-term plan is for Davey, but I do hope it kind of winds up there.
Yeah, this is a guy who's worked in the system before. He knows what to expect, and I'm happy that he's over there. He's still young in his career. He's 35 years old, so we'll see kind of what they have plans for him. I like the idea that you projected out there. I'm worried that he's just going to end up becoming cannon fodder on one of the main brands.
And they debuted him in a dark match, and he had to confirm his signing on social media. So maybe letting him, feel it out, see how he does. He's been away from the company for a while. He's matured in some ways, Harry. Others, maybe not. He's still psychotic in the ring. I've heard insane stories about him training. There's a lot you can do with that guy. I hope he connects on the mic, and I hope he keeps his head straight. I'll put it.
I just wonder sometimes, I gotta, not that this is not to sound any kind of bad blood towards Davey, or Harry, but how do you make these business decisions where you let all these talents go that you've been investing money in recently, and then bring in a talent from the outside that you've not been investing money in for years? It's just an interesting. I'd love to be a fly on the wall for some of these conversations. And
Dylan here saying he's not British, though. Why would he go to the UK brand? I don't know. Maybe because his dad was the British Bulldog, right? And he could very easily take back that mantle and I think be somebody that the UK would take as their own.
Why is Rhea Ripley on the Raw, bro?
Dina Garofalo.
I'm sorry. That was really mean. I don't mean that.
Yeah, sorry, no, that's fine. Rag him. That's fine. Rag him. That's fine. Dina Garofalo, any insight as to who this debut is supposed to be on Raw tonight? I brought this up just because if this broke while we were recording or just before, I don't know. Let me know in the comment section if something's happening right now. We'll talk about it. I don't have my laptop in front of me. I will pull it up though if needed. All right. The non-televised WWE Super Show live event scheduled for the Tech Arena. I think I got that right. In Gainesville, Florida has been canceled. The live event was scheduled for Sunday, August 8th. WWE has not announced a new location for the event as of this writing. No reason was given for the cancellation. Refunds are available. As noted, the State Farm Arena in Atlanta also announced on Friday that the live SmackDown schedule for September 17th has been canceled. WWE has not announced a new location for that SmackDown. Why am I starting to worry that this return is fleeting? I just want to call out the elephant in the room, right? It's not like COVID cases are going down right now. It's up in all 50 states. The places that these shows have been canceled, Georgia and Florida, are hotbeds for COVID. I don't know if local officials are setting the groundwork for what could be more precautions coming forward. I know that the mask mandate is back in LA. I would not be shocked to see it back here in Chicago here in the next couple weeks, days. It gives me a moment for pause when I see these shows start to get canceled, Michael.
Listen, we're struggling here in America. I mean, we think we're through the woods and there's a Delta variant out there and people aren't getting vaxxed and it just creates problems. So I don't know that we're going to go back to where we were a year ago. And I personally hope we don't unless we need to for health and safety reasons. But hey, you can wear a mask to a wrestling match and watch a wrestling match inside. Just do it. It's not that big of a deal. I don't know that WWE likes the image of a bunch of their fans wearing masks in the background of a show, though.
Well, look, there's the COVID side of it, which is something I've thought about, but then there's also just the ticket sales side of it. Sure. I mean, obviously the narrative that's gone out over the weekend, thanks to @WrestleTix, that AEW is just outpacing WWE when it comes to ticket sales. Their shows are selling really well. WWE has a lot of shows that aren't selling great, but John Cena's back. Maybe Goldberg will be back. Becky Lynch could be back. Maybe The Rock will pop in to wave his hat and raise an eyebrow. Things are happening. Maybe they can turn the ticket sales around. I don't know. There's a lot of factors here into why these shows could be getting canceled.
Sure. And there's a fact that all these shows that AEW is going after, they're making big deals. We got Fyter Fest, we're doing Fight for the Fallen, we're making these all special events, and they've got a bunch of different pieces. I wonder though, like you look at AEW, and AEW is doing good TV numbers, right? You look at AEW versus WWE, and where does their product best represent itself? Again, I think WWE is still best represented with stuff like last night. AEW can be a live event show in a way that WWE's not been able to pull off for quite some time. Like, it just doesn't feel like the thing I need to go watch in person. I can watch it at home and get the right experience. We'll see. The thing for me is WWE's got to capitalize right now because they have a lack of stars that are going to be around after all of these guys come back and then leave again, right? Can you make Big E the next one that fans want to show up for? Can you do something with Bianca Belair and continue to build her? Are there other people we can bring into the fold right now so that, listen, come next January, February, March, or maybe even after WrestleMania next year, these guys still are draws, and I just don't know that WWE has it in them yet.
I want to put together a couple comments here real quick. Muhammad saying, you can't see me with the John Cena sign. Very clever. Like that. We also have Eric Clark saying, I'm glad John Cena's back. But back to this debut thing from Dino. And again, send me a link. If there were to be somebody, let's just say hypothetically, right? And you're looking it up. I can see right now. Is there some Raw debut happening? If there is somebody debuting right now, hypothetically, hard to say anybody outside of Parker Boudreaux has the kind of buzz on them down in developmental. If John Cena comes out and he starts to talk and music we've never heard hits, and this kid comes out and he confronts John Cena and he maybe doesn't get physical, but imposes and asks him to leave the ring and then goes on to squash some local jobber or something like that. That's about the only debut I could see really resonating. And you have a bunch of people there that could put this guy over early. I don't know who else you debut, though, on Monday Night Raw that's going to get a big pop if that's the case.
I mean, couldn't you bring out Karrion Kross?
You could.
He's a main roster ready dude, right?
I guess for me, it's like in my head, it's like he's already debuted. He's in NXT, but I get what you're saying. Yeah. So debuting on Raw from NXT, sure. Okay.
And he would create some buzz. I don't know that a lot of the NXT talent would generate buzz against the John Cena, especially rocking out there, but Karrion Kross has the look. He's a champion down there. I think Daniel Price pointed out he's called out Cena.
Right.
It'd be interesting to do that. That would make him, but what do you do afterwards? You're not going to have him fight John Cena at SummerSlam, are you? Like that match is set up with him and Roman Reigns. What are you going to do with this guy? Kevin Owens debuted against John Cena. He was made because of that feud he had coming up from NXT, and it was wonderful. You got to do something like that. Don't do a Keith Lee debut, right?
Yeah. Lastly here, I guess I probably should have put this next to the Peacock story. Probably would have made better flow-wise. But WrestleNomics saying WWE's contract with Hulu for next day on-demand access in the U.S. and Raw, SmackDown, and other in-ring content is ending at some point in 2022, maybe as early as the end of this year. The report speculated that Peacock would likely be a buyer as they already have Raw and SmackDown after 30 days. As part of the network deal in the U.S., Peacock subscribers would then only have to wait a day, which would bring added value to the service that we all love, that is Peacock. Although considered less likely, it was also noted WWE could look to companies like Amazon or YouTube as a way to put pressure on Fox and or NBC to bid more aggressively when USA live rights are up in a few years. No word on what type of numbers WWE could get, but next day rights are likely a much smaller package compared to the US live rights. And if I don't have an MBA, but it would seem like going out and getting people to bid on this content would be likely reasonable. You want to see what the other people out there are offering. You don't want to just keep doors closed, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's already kind of a weird breakdown with Hulu anyway, and Hulu has been owning this for, as you put it, a long time. And it's a good way to watch the show if you don't have cable. Like if you want to watch Raw, SmackDown, and you can stay off social media for 12 hours, they put the full SmackDown and NXT up there. Raw is a 90-minute episode, which is probably better during the pandemic era. But I think that there is some value in bringing all that in-house to Peacock, because what you're going after at that point, I think, are cord cutters exclusively. Who are the people who are not going to pay the $65 a month for cable or YouTube TV that just want to see Raw and SmackDown? And you say, hey, you can watch the pay-per-view here. The next, Tuesday morning we have this. Wednesday morning we have NXT. Saturday mornings we have this. I think there is a value add there for a company like Peacock. I almost worry though, if WWE does day after on Amazon or something else, it gets lost in the noise and nobody watches it. So, we'll see. Did you find something out about the debut? Because I could not. I looked.
I did find out what was going on here while you were talking. I didn't mean to look a little aloof there for a moment, but I wanted to go down this rabbit hole that Dino set up here. So Andrew Zarian of the Mattman Pro Wrestling Podcast, they've broken some news here recently. They're saying there is going to be this big debut. They didn't mention a name, but they did mention it could be somebody who is huge and a fellow Texan, and a lot of people are speculating Raquel Gonzalez could be that person because she fits that description. Hard to argue Raw couldn't use an influx of some notable women, but you take Raquel Gonzalez away from NXT, she's the top woman in that division. Just a lot of pieces moving real quickly right now, Michael. I don't know.
But do you put her on the main roster? Does NXT needs help? Sure. But does NXT lose that much when it comes to money, when it comes to ratings, when it comes to all that? If Raquel moves up and Raquel faces maybe Becky Lynch, I mean, I don't know. That could be good. Well,
Jeff Samuel here and Randy Sam both kind of saying the same thing. What if it's Tessa Blanchard? I just don't see it. I've every time her name flares up, there's always these reports that immediately sizzle it down. I just don't know what her value is right now, and I'm not going to say no, but it just doesn't feel like Tessa Blanchard to me. This is a company who has become very risk averse with their talent. There's been a lot of people that have gone away recently that have had, bad public image issues. The one that was still the worst offender, Riddle, settled, whatever, or, had Candy Cartwright drop that suit last week. So I don't think they're looking to bring on anybody who's going to bring any kind of waves to their product at the moment, which unfortunately I believe Tessa would maybe do if she were to pop up.
I guess what we're saying is Samoa Joe to the main roster confirmed, making his main roster debut July 19th, 2021. Let's do it all over again.
All right.
Oh, that's high quality.
So much NXT title belt. I grabbed it and I forgot I had things hidden underneath it and things fell. Yes, thank you for tuning in. We talked all things Money in the Bank. Michael, thank you. Thank you to Jimmy Corderas. What a wonderful chat as always. Go check out Jimmy in video form on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel here. And just a couple minutes after we wrap this show today, and you can go jump in the comment section, keep it going. This will bring us to the mailbag, which we'll prattle through here pretty quickly. What was moment of the night at Money in the Bank? A question, I guess, that grabbed a lot of people. Over 700 votes here in just the last hour. Big vote getter today. 60% John Cena's return, 34.5 Big E's win, 3.2 Charlotte tapping, 2.3 everything else. So by and large, it was either John Cena or Big E for people. Which one did you think was the bigger moment?
It was absolutely John Cena. That was just felt special. It was electric. It was. I mean, the Big E stuff has bigger ramifications long term, I think. But that pop, go look at it. If you did not watch the show, find it on social media. It's on the WWE Twitter. It was incredible, and it was everything that you love about a pro wrestling fan when it comes to surprises.
I will go the opposite route. I thought Big E was a bigger moment because I think we all kind of expected John Cena to come back soon. We all kind of knew it was an inevitability. I don't think we all knew Big E was going to win this match until it happened.
Sure.
And I've been saying for ever since Money in the Bank season started, I thought Drew was going to take this title. And when Jinder and Co. came out and beat down Drew and dragged him to the back, I just, in my head, saw a battered Drew McIntyre dragging his ass back to the ring to win that match. I really thought that. I was so confident that was how that match was going to end. And then for Big E to win it, I'm glad I was wrong. I thought it was a big moment for him. I think it's going to lead to his first world title victory. And I think historically, that moment will be looked at as a bigger moment. And I think that when you look at the reaction from the fans, I don't know, pop for pop, which was bigger, because they were certainly there for Big E.
That's true. You're right. Absolutely. And I love the argument there. I just God, they got me with that music. I mean, I knew we were expecting it, but Money in the Bank was a great show. We're nitpicking. I'm going to go with the guy on social media who responded and said Jay White at Impact. That was the biggest moment of the weekend, obviously, Nick. Come on.
Really? I don't know. He's gonna be Jay White's going to be at Warrior Wrestling here in August. So you want to see some Jay White, come check it out. I'll call that.
Listen, I don't want to, people are going to spam me on Twitter. Oh, Jay White showing up at Impact Saturday night was a cool freaking deal. But it's the difference in that friend of yours who is oh, I don't watch the Fast and the Furious movies. I only watch stuff at my local art house cinema. You got to go big sometimes. Hollywood is freaking John Cena showing up at Money in the Bank, right? independent wrestling, or not independent wrestling, but like all these smaller promotions can still do really cool stuff. It's just not on the same stage as a major blockbuster sometimes.
Color me skeptical. I don't see Jay White Omega happening in Impact. I feel like Impact once again was used as background to set up something with AEW. I mean,
God, you gotta love it. Their ratings have gone down for like 6 months while this has been going on, and I just feel bad for them. Like, their champion belongs to another company. I know they're getting something out of this, but I feel like people are just like, what, Moose is their guy, and he's just, oh man,
yeah,
he's sidelined.
I mean, they set up the Bullet Club reunion in Impact. Great, they got the angle. I feel like Tony Khan's gonna want the match. Just me guessing, just me speculating. But that's the way it looks to me.
And it will not do a buy rate on an Impact pay-per-view that it will do on an AEW pay-per-view. I'm just sorry, guys. It's just the case.
I just don't see Tony Khan letting. I'm surprised, honestly, Jay showed up there, because I thought for sure if he was available and was going to work North America, he'd have showed up in AEW before going to Impact. But whatever. Maybe Impact got the pop. AEW will get the match. We'll see. At Notorious One, Craig, even though I love John Cena's return, Big E's win really affected my mood. In terms of excitement, I was legit tired after the main event, so I loved this moment, and I can't wait to see Big E win the championship. I agree with you, man. The glam is on PDM. Ricochet landing like a cat on the top rope and hitting that springboard. I know it is a spot, but it literally was the best part of the whole show, and props to Ricochet. You talk about creating moments. That guy tightrope jumped onto the ladder. That was a moment. That was a big moment.
Yeah. And keep in mind, everybody, Kofi Kingston did those kinds of things. Not that exact. That was a Ricochet specialty. Don't get me wrong. But Kofi Kingston showed up to matches like this year after year after year before he finally kind of broke away and was able to get that. So I know everybody wants to be like, what's happening to Ricochet? Stuff like this keeps him in the conversation, and his future is still very bright in WWE.
DJ Esquire, New York City. All the moments are great, but the clear moment of the night to me was when the Peacock feed started to glitch out before the men's ladder match, and wrestling Twitter went apeshit. At Pellator James, John Cena, that pop was deafening. We have from Shield Woman 512. I guess a fan of what happened with Nikki Ash winning the briefcase. Matthew Salimna, Peacock failing. All right, more Peacock stuff. Everybody really, really upset about Peacock. And then we'll just do one quick one here from Dino Garofalo. Crowds make a tremendous difference. The crowd was electric, and it got me so into the show. And maybe the match of the night or the moment of the night was just the fans' reactions, because there were some really big, great moments that really certainly helped that show. And by the way, Dino DM'd me earlier today asking a question about the Rhea Charlotte match. It was a referee-related question. Dino, I know we're watching this live. And you haven't seen it yet, but in 3 minutes, if you go to the Wrestling YouTube channel, you can watch the Jimmy Corderas interview that I did. It's going to debut, and I bring up your name, Dino, and I ask Jimmy your question to start that interview, because that's what I do, right? If you watch this, you want questions answered, you ask them, you DM me. My DMs are open. You bring them up in the comments. I'll answer your questions. I'll take them to whoever you need those questions answered by. I'll get those questions answered. That's what I do for you, I promise.
Can I do it too, Nick? Can I?
Whatever you can ask questions. You can find the answers. You can do whatever you want. It's a rainbow. Okay. That is. Show's over. Show's over.
I don't have a noisemaker. I feel left out right now. Can I just take 2 highlighters and?
Show's over.
It's good stuff.
We are about to go to Jimmy Corderas here in 2 minutes over on the Wrestling YouTube channel. When you come back tomorrow, it'll be me, and I haven't got it nailed down. EJ can't be here, but I do have somebody that I'm waiting to get a yes back from. So me and somebody talking the news. But Arya Davari will be the conversation tomorrow. Great chat with Arya. I don't know if you remember, but him and his brother Sean cut that promo in Saudi Arabia waving the Iranian flag and got a bunch of death threats. Been waiting forever to talk to him about that, and we dig into it tomorrow. So Arya Davari, me, and somebody. If you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, support WrestlingInc.com. We're on all the socials, and the Wrestling Inc. podcast goes live at night after the big shows and is available on all podcast platforms as well. Michael, what do you want to plug, promote, put over here to wrap up the show today?
Thanks for having me on the show today, Nick. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. I am on Twitter at The Real Wiseman. Let's keep this conversation going all throughout the great pro wrestling stuff happening between now and the rest of forever. I'm excited to be here. Pro wrestling is back, baby. The Wrestling Geek Daily is back. We got a cowbell. The future is bright, everybody.
Future is bright. Future is bright. Future is bright. Future is bright. I'm Nick_Hausman over on Twitter. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Go check out the Jimmy Corderas interview. It's about to debut right here on the Wrestling Geek YouTube channel. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked,